Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're asking a question that, well, it completely flips how we view our struggles. I mean, think about it. Usually, when you are going through the darkest, most confusing moments of your life, there is this default assumption that something is broken.
Right?
You feel like you are sitting in an empty, pitch-black room, totally cut off from clarity, from purpose, maybe even from the people around you. You just feel completely in the dark.
It's a very common human experience. That darkness just feels like a void, like an absolute absence of everything good or, productive.
An absence, exactly. But what if we have that completely backward? What if the moments in your life that feel the darkest, the most blocked, and the most confusing are actually moments of overwhelming, blinding light,
Oh, wow.
right? A light that is so incredibly intense, you just don't have the internal instruments to process it yet.
That is a massive paradigm shift. I mean, you're suggesting that darkness isn't a lack of light, but rather an excess of it.
It really is. And that is the core premise of our deep dive today. We are exploring a really fascinating article by Rabbi Shlomo Ezagui, which translates and unpacks a Hasidic discourse delivered back in 1953 by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem M. Schneerson.
Yes. It's a profound text.
And our mission today is to look at this profound piece of Torah wisdom, this idea that our greatest strengths and our greatest blessings are actually found in darkness. And we're going to see how this exact spiritual framework laid out decades ago perfectly mirrors modern science's understanding of our universe.
It is such a brilliant synthesis to explore. You have this deep mystical tradition on one hand and modern astrophysics on the other.
Yeah.
And they're both pointing to the exact same conclusion about the fundamental nature of reality.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand why darkness is actually a source of strength, we have to start at the very beginning and redefine what light and darkness actually mean in a spiritual context. So how does the foundational Kabbalistic concept explain the way the universe was created?
Well, in Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism, the energy with which God created the universe is referred to as Or Ein Sof, which translates to the light which has no end. But we have to be very careful with the word light here because it can be misleading if we take it literally.
Because it's not like physical light, not a light bulb or a flashlight.
That distinction is crucial. On a deeper spiritual level, this light, or the or, is understood as a radiance, or a flow that emerges from a core essence. The critical part of this framework is that the core essence itself is intrinsically concealed. Its very nature is hiddenness, it does not reveal itself, and it is not defined by revelation.
So the ultimate source of everything stays completely out of view. It's entirely behind the curtain.
Precisely. So when we talk about the light that created the universe, we are not talking about the essence itself. We aren't even talking about a direct, unfiltered revelation of that essence.
So what are we talking about then?
We are talking about something drawn from the essence that is, relatively speaking, completely inconsequential. It is just a measured extension, a limited radiance that extends outward so that a finite world can actually exist and, receive it.
A tiny leakage, basically. Just a drop escaping from an infinite ocean.
That's a really good way to picture it. And because this light is just an emanation, the core essence is completely unaffected by it. Whether this tiny fraction of light shines outward to create worlds or whether it doesn't shine at all, it makes absolutely no difference to the source. The radiance causes zero change in the essence.
I really want to make sure we nail this, because the source text gives this amazing analogy about the human mind that makes this incredibly relatable. It talks about human intelligence.
Oh, yes, the intellect analogy.
Yeah. So the raw capacity you have to understand things, to generate wisdom, that essential power of intellect is totally concealed. You don't feel the humming machinery of your raw intelligence.
Yeah,
What you actually experience are the expressions of it, the conscious thoughts, the specific ideas, those aha moments.
Exactly. Your conscious thoughts are the light that has emerged from the hidden machinery.
Wait, so if I have a brilliant idea, that's just the tiny leakage. The actual raw intelligence generating it is technically dark.
What's fascinating here is that the terminology can trip us up if we aren't careful. It is called darkness not because it lacks richness. I mean, it is certainly not an empty void.
Right.
It is called darkness simply because it is completely inaccessible to our direct experience. You cannot directly observe the raw underlying machinery of your intellect. The subconscious well of potential is vastly larger than any single idea, but you only see the product it spits out, the articulated thought.
That makes so much sense. I can't point to my abstract intelligence. I can only point to the specific idea I just had in this exact moment.
The concealed source of your intelligence contains infinitely more potential than any single thought you could ever articulate. It is qualitatively and quantitatively beyond comparison to the tiny sliver that becomes a conscious idea.
Wow.
Yet, because that massive infinite source is hidden from our awareness, we label it dark. And the tiny, limited portion we can actually perceive, the thought, we call light.
This completely flips the script.
Yeah.
If the greatest power is hidden in darkness, then our human perspective on what is good or clear is totally backward.
It is the ultimate reversal of perspective. And the discourse uses another powerful analogy to illustrate this, looking at the relationship between the soul and the body.
Okay, how does that work?
Well, the essence of the soul is totally concealed. Its nature isn't to express itself outward, it simply exists in its own essential state.
But something has to keep our physical bodies alive, right? I mean, we're breathing.
Yes, and that is where the emanation comes in. From that concealed essence emerges a flow, a specific, limited energy that animates your body. It enlivens each organ according to its specific function.
Got it.
That flow, that animating energy, is what we experience as light or life. But it's just a fraction, an external expression of soul that is infinitely greater than the physical life force.
The source compares it to the sun, which is such a clean way to visualize it. The essence of the sun itself doesn't expand into the vacuum of space. The sun stays exactly where it is. What actually travels outward to us across the solar system is just sunlight, a limited external expression.
Sunlight is real, it's powerful, and it warms our entire planet, but it is only a minute expression of the terrifyingly massive nuclear furnace that is the sun's core.
So this leads to the grand reversal. From our perspective as the recipients, down here on Earth or inside our conscious minds or in our physical bodies, that small radiance is everything to us. It is light, it is life, it is clarity. And the concealed source, we look at that and just see darkness.
But from the standpoint of the essence itself, the exact opposite is true. The essence is the ultimate, infinite, absolute light. The small radiance that emerges from it is so negligible, it is almost like darkness relative to its massive source.
It's blowing my mind a little bit. To the infinite source, our light is basically nothing. It's like, okay, imagine standing next to a massive stadium speaker at a huge rock concert.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
If you turn that speaker up all the way to its absolute maximum capacity, you don't really hear music anymore. The sheer force of the sound waves just feels like a physical pressure. It hits you in the chest like a concrete wall, like a blockage.
Yeah.
It feels silent or deafening to your ears, but not because there's no sound. It feels that way because there is too much sound. Your ears just aren't built to process that frequency or volume, so your brain interprets it as a physical assault instead of a melody.
That analogy actually gets right to the heart of it. You are perceiving a blockage, a lack of music, but the reality is an overabundance of energy.
Yeah.
That is exactly what the discourse is saying about the spiritual structure of creation.
Wow.
The essence and the source make up the overwhelming majority of reality. But we only perceive the thin strand of revealed light that our human detection systems can handle. Everything else hits us as a wall, as darkness.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because we aren't just talking about abstract spiritual philosophy here. We're moving right into physical reality. The article points out that this exact framework, laid out in a Hasidic discourse in 1953, structurally mirrors the modern scientific understanding of our universe.
It is a stunning parallel. If you ask modern physicists what the universe is made of, they will tell you that the stuff we can see is practically a rounding error. The overwhelming majority of the cosmos is composed of dark energy and dark matter.
Let's map this out because the text lines them up perfectly. But before we just list them, how do scientists actually know this dark stuff is out there if we can't see it?
That's the fascinating part. They observe the effects. Let's start with dark matter. When astronomers started looking closely at how galaxies rotate, they realized a massive problem.
Which was?
The visible stuff. The stars, the gas, the dust. It didn't have nearly enough mass to generate the gravity required to hold the galaxy together at the speeds it was spinning. Based on the amount of visible light, these galaxies should have literally torn themselves apart and flung stars out into deep space.
But they don't. They hold their shape.
Exactly. So scientists realized there had to be an invisible glue, a massive amount of hidden matter that doesn't interact with light, but does exert a gravitational pull. That is dark matter.
And what about dark energy? How is that different?
Dark energy is even more profound. In the late 1990s, scientists discovered that the universe wasn't just expanding, the expansion was accelerating. Galaxies are flying away from each other faster and faster.
Which doesn't make sense if gravity is pulling on everything, right?
Right, gravity should be pulling everything back together, slowing the expansion down. So there must be some incredibly powerful, unseen force pushing the fabric of the universe apart. They called it dark energy. We can't see it, we can't capture it, but it makes up the vast majority of the universe.
So mapping this to the spiritual framework, dark energy makes up the largest share of the universe. And structurally, this corresponds to the most refined, essential soul level of existence.
Yes, dark energy is so subtle, so all-encompassing, and so beyond our current definitions. We know it is there by calculating its effects, but we cannot grasp what it actually is. It is dark only because of our limitations in perception.
It's the essence. It's the raw, infinite source. Then, stepping down from that, you have dark matter, which corresponds to an intermediate spiritual level.
Dark matter makes up a smaller, but still massive share of the universe. It is still hidden, still not directly observable, but it's a step closer to revelation.
Okay, how so?
Well, it interacts with the universe in ways we can measure more locally, like giving structure to galaxies. It's concealed, but slightly more defined than dark energy.
And finally, you have the observable universe, the stuff we can actually see. Atoms, light, stars, planets, electromagnetic radiation. And this blew me away. The observable universe is roughly 5% of what's actually out there.
It is almost nothing compared to the whole. The observable universe is the ore. It is the revealed radiance. It is the tiny, detectable expression of a vastly greater underlying reality.
I mean, think about the timeline here. This Hasidic discourse mapped out the fundamental structure of the universe in 1953, decades before modern astrophysics fully solidified the existence of dark matter and the accelerating universe driven by dark energy. Does this mean science is finally proving what mystics have been saying all along? That the dark isn't empty space, but the most fundamental energy there is?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what we are seeing is two distinct disciplines arriving at the exact same profound truth about reality.
Yeah.
Both the spiritual framework of Torah wisdom and the scientific framework of physics are telling us that reality is a single continuum of existence, expressing itself at different degrees. The majority of reality remains hidden from us, not because it is lacking or empty, but because it is too fundamental, too expansive, and too intense to be directly revealed by our limited instruments.
Whether those instruments are our physical senses, our space telescopes, or our conscious minds.
Exactly.
So if physics proves that the dark is actually the most fundamental, powerful energy out there, how does that change the way we handle our own mental blockages and difficult times?
This is where the philosophy becomes incredibly practical. The author references the wisdom of the Tanya, which is the foundational text of Shamad Hasidic philosophy. It addresses exactly how this cosmic structure applies to our personal lives.
Okay.
The Tanya suggests that when you go through periods of darkness, times that feel completely unclear, blocked, distant, or beyond your comprehension, this is not necessarily a lower state of being.
That is so counterintuitive. Because when you feel lost, your immediate assumption is that you've fallen. You assume you're in a lower state, that you're failing, or that you're totally cut off from your purpose.
But the text argues that this darkness is not a sign of God's absence or a personal failure. Instead, it indicates that you are encountering a spiritual reality that is far deeper, more essential, and more intense than your current mind and emotions are capable of processing.
I followed the physics perfectly, but the source text lost me a bit here when it shifted to using the letters of God's name to explain this. How does a letter equate to a level of reality or an emotional state?
That's a great question, and it helps to look at the metaphor of letters in Kabbalah. Think about how you communicate an idea. Before you speak, you have a raw, unarticulated feeling or concept in your mind.
Right, it's just sort of a general sense of what I want to say.
Exactly. It's vast and abstract. To explain it to me, you have to compress it, break it down, and form words out of individual letters. The spoken words, the lower letters, are accessible. I can hear them and understand them. That's the revealed world.
Okay, so the lower letters are the ideas that actually make it out of my mouth in a way someone else can grasp.
Precisely. But the higher letters in this metaphor represent the structural building blocks of the raw thought while it's still entirely in your mind. They are closer to the core essence because they haven't been compressed into a neat, easily digestible sentence yet. If I were somehow exposed to them directly, they would just seem like chaotic noise or darkness to me. I wouldn't be able to parse them.
So when the Tanya says the higher hidden worlds stem from the earlier letters of God's name, It's saying we're bumping into the raw, unfiltered essence of reality before it's been translated into something comfortable.
That's it, exactly. We naturally prefer the lower letters, the revealed goodness. We like clarity, understanding, and visible positivity because our internal detection system is designed to process those translated, simplified signals.
Hmm.
When we hit the raw essence, our system gets overwhelmed.
You're hitting that stadium speaker wall of sound.
Yes. So what feels like spiritual darkness is actually proximity to a higher, untranslated light.
So what does this all mean for us practically? I want to address you, the listener, right now. Think about the last time you felt totally lost, overwhelmed, or like you were hitting a brick wall in your life. Our human instinct is to panic. We think, I'm in the dark, something has gone terribly wrong.
Yeah, you start freaking out.
Right. So how do we actually use this framework? On a random Tuesday, when we're stressed and confused, how do we stay grounded in that darkness without panicking?
The first step is radically redefining what that darkness actually is. You have to remind yourself that the blockage signifies a higher form of light that hasn't been translated into your awareness yet. It is an intense connection to the core of existence.
That's powerful.
When you realize that, you can stop fighting the confusion. You can stop expending all your energy panicking about being broken.
The text mentions that the phrase, this too is for the good, has to be taken seriously here. It's not just a nice platitude you cross-stitch on a pillow.
No, it's presented as a structural fact of the universe. The darkness is not emptiness, it is immense depth. So your task is not just to appreciate the light when things are clear and going well.
Right.
Your task is to recognize and accept that what feels like darkness is actually a higher form of light. By staying present, grounded, and connected through that difficult experience, by not running away from it, you are aligning yourself with the deepest level of reality.
When you insist on drawing the light out of the darkness, when you hold your ground and stay connected instead of giving up, the source text suggests the light actually reveals itself to you more quickly.
Because you are allowing your internal instruments the time and space they need to process that immense energy. You are trusting the process, knowing that the darkness is just depth you haven't deciphered yet.
I love that.
This raises an important question about how we view resilience. If you know the darkness holds the greatest blessings, you approach the struggle with curiosity rather than fear.
That is such a deeply comforting piece of Torah wisdom, to know that your darkest personal moments, the times when you feel the most inept and blocked, are actually your closest encounters with the infinite. It completely removes the shame from struggling. It reframes a period of mental or emotional blockage, not as a failure, but as an incredible proximity to something vastly profound.
It's a beautiful synthesis of faith and structure, realizing that the vast majority of reality and the vast majority of our own spiritual potential resides in what we currently perceive as the dark.
What a journey this has been today. We started with ancient Kabbalistic concepts of the hidden essence, the Or Ein Sof, and how the light we experience is just a tiny emanation of a concealed infinite source.
Which is mind-blowing on its own.
Absolutely. And then we explored the stunning structural parallels with modern physics, looking at how the spiritual essence and radiance map perfectly onto dark energy pushing the universe apart, dark matter holding galaxies together, and the tiny sliver that is the observable universe. And we brought it all the way down to human psychology and personal growth, proving that Torah wisdom about finding strength in darkness is fundamentally woven into the fabric of the cosmos.
It changes how you look at the night sky, and more importantly, how you look at your own internal struggles.
It really does. Which brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with today. The text says that our internal detection system is currently limited to grasping, revealed, visible goodness. We like the light we can easily see, but think about astronomy. When scientists realize they can't see the dark matter or dark energy, they don't just give up.
Sure, they don't pack it in.
Telescopes are constantly being upgraded to detect more and more of the cosmos. We build better, more sensitive instruments to capture what was previously hidden in the dark.
We actively expand our capacity to perceive.
Exactly. So what if the next time you face an impenetrable, dark wall in your life, a moment of profound confusion or struggle, you view it as an invitation to upgrade your own internal instruments? What if the struggle itself isn't a sign that you're broken, but the exact necessary process of your mind and heart expanding, stretching their capacity so they can finally process that immense hidden light?
That is a profoundly empowering way to look at growth.
It is. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We always love exploring these incredible ideas with you, and we can't wait to see what we uncover next time.